It's not
I had
unusual.
no idea this kind of work existed.
Madoka, I want to thank you for taking the time to be here this morning. You told me this is your first time doing a podcast.
Yes.
Were you born in Tokyo, or because you have European experience and
Yes.
Japanese experience? Because you're second
Yes.
generation to come back.
So I was born in Tokyo, and then I left the country when I was 3 years old. Went to Pakistan, then went to Belgium. Came back to Japan, went to local schools.
Are you the only child?
No, I have a younger brother.
How many years difference?
3 years.
Are you guys close?
We used to be, not so
Okay.
much now.
All right. Okay.
Mm.
All right.
And then we went to Vienna when I was...
First from Pakistan to Vienna
No, Pakistan to Belgium.
to Belgium. Okay.
Came back to Japan, went to local schools, then went to Vienna when I was 10th grade. And then I went to Wales for boarding school for high school. And my parents then were in Moscow at the time. My brother was in Moscow as well. And then, I came back for university here.
While they were in Moscow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does your father do? He's a diplomat?
Yeah, he's a diplomat.
Okay.
Yeah.
In what areas?
Well, he's retired now.
Okay.
He was mainly in Europe and Asia because he speaks French as well.
Was he an ambassador to those areas?
He was ambassador to some Asian countries and also in Geneva.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did your mother work as well, or did she
No, my mother was always a housewife.
taking care of
Yeah,
you
taking
and your
care
brother?
of us, but she's always had like lots of interests, so she's always happy doing whatever new hobby she's doing, and so yeah, she's multi-talented, definitely.
So how are your parents doing now? Are they in Tokyo?
Yes, they're in Tokyo.
Do you live with your parents?
No, I live close to them. My brother lives with my parents.
Okay.
Mm.
Right. So I'm taking it he's not married, or he is married with his wife?
He's not married.
Not married. Okay.
No.
So when you went to college, what tell us going through? So what was it like for you growing up, going to all these different countries?
Yeah, so when I came back to Japan for university, it was like a reverse culture shock. And I mean, it was a good time to do it because, university, you're exploring, experimenting, making friends. So I think it was the right time to do it. But yeah, there was a shock for sure.
Mm-hmm. Did you grow up learning Japanese as well as English when you grew up?
Yeah, I would go to weekend school, Japanese school on the weekends, practicing my kanji. But I didn't think it was especially like hard or anything because my other friends who were like Bulgarian friends, they had to go to Bulgarian school. So I was like, okay, I would to go to Japanese school and they go to their own school.
Mm.
So I didn't think it was anything that like hard or anything.
But didn't you have other kids that were part of your consulate or whatever when you were there, a Japanese community, wherever you went? So you had friends of your own?
Yeah, but I tended to hang out with kids from the international schools more. Yeah.
Okay. So what would you say your first language was? Japanese or English?
Japanese, but I had most of my secondary education in English. So when it comes to like conceptual things or when I need to write an essay or something, I'm better at it in English.
Okay.
Mm.
So tell me, when you were growing up, were you more academic or were you more sports-minded?
I would say definitely academic in that I found joy in books and I didn't like sports.
What kind of books did you like?
I was still learning English, so I read a lot of like young adult books and kids' books, but also I love reading in Japanese as well. So that's how I kind of kept up my Japanese.
Right.
Yeah.
So as you got older, what genre did you find yourself gravitating more to?
As I got older, I started reading much less books, which is a bit strange, but I like nonfiction better. But when it comes to Japanese books, I like to get lost in fiction. I did start skiing when I was very little.
How old were you? Do you remember?
Maybe 3 or 4.
Okay.
And my parents would put me and my brother in the French-speaking little kids groups, and they don't give you the stocks.
The stock, yeah, stock.
Yeah, they don't give you them when you're little. You just like have to do it yourself.
Right,
and
right.
yeah, I remember the only thing like I could say in French was like, "Can I have some orange juice, please?" or something.
Okay.
Very simple like that.
Do you still speak French?
So I went to Geneva afterward, and then I didn't speak French for a long time. So kind of.
Okay. But you probably understand more than you speak. Right.
Yeah.
That usually happens. So you remember skiing. So do you still ski?
I can, yeah. I haven't been skiing for the recent years because usually the skiing season coincides with business season. Usually I'm very, very busy working during that time, so I don't get to go that often. But I still love it, and
so that's the one sport you really like.
Yeah.
Because you weren't into sports, but that was one sport that you liked.
Yeah.
Did you ever swim? Did you do anything like that?
I swim. Yeah, I swim. I like to swim. Yeah, it's nice in the summer, especially. It is a sense of freedom, to move around in the water. It's really nice.
All right. So you finished. You started to come back, and you suffered, would you say, reverse culture shock when you came back to Japan. What were some of the things that struck you first when you came back for university?
So when I was in Wales in boarding school, we would call each other by our first names, even the teachers and even the principal. We would call him by his first name.
It wouldn't be Mr. or Mrs.?
No, it was
his first name. Okay.
And so coming back to Japan, there's the Sempai koh-hai culture. Even if you're 1 year older, you're supposed to address them with honorifics, and didn't think to do that when I first got back. Some friends told me about a year later that they were quite shocked of how I was behaving, and I was like, you should have told me then. Should have told me then that it's not okay. But they were like, yeah, but we knew it wasn't like you weren't like maliciously doing it.
So that was one of the biggest things that happened when you came back. The status, the hierarchy that's set up in Japan. You weren't used to that.
That was different. Yeah, I wasn't used to it. Yeah.
Okay. So how long did it take you you feel like to adjust?
So I kind of immersed myself into Japanese culture intentionally. I joined a Japanese speaking club with mostly Japanese students. My aim was to learn how Japanese people think and behave, and to not shock people when I do something. And that's kind of connecting to what I do now, because I'm a qualitative researcher and I study how Japanese people behave and think. And
what university did you go to when you came back here?
I went to ICU.
ICU?
Yes.
My first secretary came from ICU. I lived in Mitaka, Shimanenjaku.
Oh, really?
No, I'm sorry. I lived in Kaminenjaku, which is closer to ICU.
Kaminenjaku, yes.
And right in Kaminenjaku, in Mitaka. And I had a house there. I taught at the American school.
I see.
ESIJ, which is right across the road. That's right across Samidodo, right? Yeah. And the cemetery and everything else, the park. So that area was my stomping ground for a long time. I was in my 20s when I first went over there, when I first started teaching.
Lots of nature around that area.
It is. It's very green. Very green. And then Kichijoji's where the movies were, the movie theaters when I was growing up. And then you had the park, the zoo.
Yeah.
What was it called? Inogashira? No.
Yeah, Inokashira.
Inogashira Zoo, right? Whatever. Anyway. So throughout school, what did you study? What were your focuses in college when you went to ICU?
I studied international relations and communication studies.
With the hope to do what you're doing now?
No, I had no idea.
Well, most people don't. That's not unusual.
I had no idea this kind of work existed.
Okay.
I thought, I wanted to do something that was international to start with, and I studied international relations because I wanted to learn how the world works. That was like the closest thing that I was also familiar with, kind of, with my father's work. And no, I had no idea what market research was. Or I didn't know what this that you could freelance and make a living out of it. I had no idea.
I think it's really true. I think that comes part and parcel with the fact that most of us don't know how to parent. So we don't give that information over to our kids because we're still learning it a lot of times when we're raising our kids. So it's new to us, but we don't think to pass that on. Right now, I think you grew up in a time when the internet boom was just starting. It was just starting to flourish. They didn't have Facebook. They didn't have any of these other things going on. So it was just new. We were just getting out of the analog stage, going into the digital.
Yeah.
So you kind of still remember a little bit of that.
Yeah.
You had to learn how to write a little bit.
Yes.
Just a little bit. Then they stopped and said, stop writing. You got to start typing now. Do you remember that, going through that?
Yes, I remember very slow internet.
and the modems, and just to make the noise.
Yeah, exactly. That was my teenage years. So.
That's right. But you were so happy because you'd get something, right? You remember that? And then when pictures, it'd be a picture this big, but it took forever for it to show up.
Yes.
You'd be so happy when you saw it. You said, well, this is amazing. So, okay, so you finished college. Okay, you got your BA in international relations
and communication.
And then what was your first job after that?
I worked at a Japanese kind of communication consulting company, and a few months later I was horribly depressed. The fact that I was depressed felt like a failure to me, like I failed at giving a shot at life or something. I just wasn't in a headspace where I could see myself being a career woman or being anything that I dreamt of doing.
Had you found out the source of your depression?
Oh yes, I mean, I do have bipolar disorder.
Okay.
And now I'm fine.
How was it? How did you express it when you were younger? How did it affect you?
I'd have bouts of deep pridepression.
It would just come over you at any time?
I was depressed quite a lot of the time, yeah.
And this started while you were in college? Prior to that, it was
earlier, I think, yeah.
So like when? How old were you?
By the time I was in boarding school, I was experiencing depression and bouts of being high. I think by puberty I was experiencing, yeah.
But did anyone know it? Did you talk to anyone about it?
While at university, I decided to go to the doctor by myself. I had tried to discuss it with other people, but I didn't have anyone knowledgeable about mental health around me. At university, I finally decided to go to the doctor myself and get therapy at the university, which was very helpful. Yeah. They have the psychology department and they have the counseling center. So
how did that work for you? Did that help?
It helped a lot until I graduated university and I couldn't get the help anymore. So that's when I got the really bad depression. Yeah.
You couldn't talk to your parents about it?
To my parents, it was quite new. To them, it was a new idea to take psychiatric medication and these kind of things. This was not something they grew up with. they weren't familiar with it, so they weren't really very helpful at the time. Now they're very supportive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, are you on medication now?
Yes.
You've been doing that for how long now?
So more than 20 years.
More than 20 years. You've been on medication more than 20 years?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
'Cause you're 38 now.
I'm 39.
39,
Yeah.
39. Okay. Since you were 19 then?
Yes.
Okay. And has it helped? Do you think it's helped quite a bit?
Oh yes. So after I got depressed, it took me 2.5 years maybe to come out of the depression. And that was a very hard time because in Japan they over medicated me to begin with, and then so they had to reduce all the medication and then increase the medication again. Right.
Now, what happened to you when they over medicated you?
I became like a zombie.
You couldn't function at all.
Mm.
So you just stayed in. Who noticed that you were being over medicated? Did the doctors notice, or was it?
So I went to Scotland because my parents were there. They took me there because I was not functioning. So the doctors saw the medications and they were like, "You're way over medicated."
In Scotland?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they started taking out the medication, and then I moved to Geneva as well, and then yes, they tried different medications, and finally we found one that worked. And then yeah, I was looking for a job, but it was really hard because of the financial crisis at the time. Yeah.
Lehman shock. Okay.
2010
Right.
So I found a job. I was better now, so I found a job in Tokyo in market research. So that's how I started my second start, so to say.
So after that, is that when you became a foodie, or was it prior to that?
Becoming a foodie, I mean, I guess my family was always like into food. My parents are definitely foodies. Cooking by myself was after, I think, mostly, yeah.
Because on your Instagram posts, that makes me hungry. It looks good. You have some good dishes on there. Did you prepare all of those dishes, or you just take pictures of dishes?
No,
those are prepared by you.
Those are mostly prepared by me.
It's fantastic. You are quite talented.
Thank you.
My goodness. It took me a long time to go through all of that too. I went all the way through. Because you started Instagram 2012.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe, but you have so much on there now.
Yeah.
Of the foods. And now you don't even get to see you. You just see all your foods. It's really good. So you enjoy doing that. What are some of your favorite dishes?
Oh, that's...
Or do you have favorites? All of them?
Yeah, I have a lot of favorites. I really like making rolled cabbage because it's like home and it reminds me of my mom's cooking. I also like shakushka. Shakushka.
Which is?
It's I think it's a Middle Eastern kind of dish. Just like sauteed onions and tomatoes, and then you crack an egg in it. And it's like a breakfast dish.
Okay.
Yeah,
so it's easy and quick.
Yeah. It's very tasty. Also, I went to Turkey to visit my friend a few years ago, and I learned the art of making menemen.
Which is
also red peppers and tomatoes sauteed, and it's like an omelette kind of dish, like scrambled.
So it's also a breakfast meal?
Yeah. And the controversy is if you put onion in it or not. It's a national controversy, apparently.
So some people think it is traditional, some people think it isn't.
Yeah.
Okay, to put onions in it. All right, so outside of that, then I saw that you also like to knit.
Mm-hmm.
You love knitting?
Yes.
So what type of things? Because you only had a few things on your Instagram post of you knitting. There's one, you were getting ready to do a cap because it was fall and it was getting ready to get cold and you were doing one cap.
Yes.
I think it was a gray cap.
So I almost finished with that one.
Oh, you just started that?
No.
That was a while ago when you started.
That was a while ago, yeah.
Okay.
But I take a long time to finish things because I have a lot of different projects. That's the problem. But yeah, that was a bunny balaclava. So it's like your face shows up, and then there's the bunny ears.
Okay.
Yeah. I will upload when I finish it.
Okay.
But I rarely finish the things. That's probably why you don't see it often.
You rarely finish?
I rarely finish things, yes.
So you have a lot of stuff that's still hanging?
Yeah.
Okay. But you finish all the food you start to cook.
Well, you can't, take forever to cook something.
That's right. So you have to finish that. So when you're talking about when you get into your knitting, so that's the one thing that you do that sometimes takes more time and you don't finish it, your knitting projects. Okay. So outside of that, do you have any other hobbies that you're really into? You're foodie and you like knitting? Any other hobbies?
I like walking.
That's more like exercise. So you mean, do you just like meditative like walking? Is that like your meditation for you? Or is that the time you just, is it you
meditation for me is knitting.
Okay.
Walking is more like exercise, but I like walking around and discovering new things and taking a different road or something. I joined the half Yamathon last year, so that's 21 kilometers. That was fun. Yeah.
Okay. Here in Tokyo?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Yamathon. You go around along the Yamanote.
Okay, Yamathon. Okay, I'm not familiar with it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with it. But
okay.
The Yamathon. Has it been around for a long time, or is it?
Oh yeah.
It has
so,
been?
Yeah. Maybe not as long as you.
As I've been here, but
You've
it's been
been
here
here, but it's
so I
been
just
here
missed it.
Yeah.
The Yamathon.
Yeah. So some people do the whole Yamathon, going around the whole Yamanote stations, and you can also do a half Yamathon, which I did. It's 21.
So it's a whole
kilometers.
Yamathon 42?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. All right. Now there's one area that you really wanted to talk about too, because you said you're a health advocate, and you really focus on that. You love your food, and you're into your hobbies. And now I found out about the Yamathon, which I didn't know about, but now I know about it. Something I might do, because I do walk.
Okay.
I get up early in the morning and I walk. And I walk all over the place. I walk all over the place. But I like to do it when no one's around, so none of the rules apply. Red lights don't mean anything. It doesn't matter how big the street is. I can walk down the center of it. I just love doing that. And it's safe here.
Yeah. Except for the garbage trucks. Be careful of the garbage trucks.
That's right. That's true. You got that right. No. And some of the guys delivering mail.
Yeah.
Some of the guys, because now they have electric bikes, and you can't hear them. Before you could hear the little scooters early in the morning. Now they have electric bikes, at least here in Tokyo, and you don't hear them sometimes. And you go, you just go upon you, and I find myself getting a little nervous. So tell me, Madoka, you have alopecia.
Yes.
When did it start? And it is something, I just want all of you to know, it's something she wants to talk about.
Yeah. So it started maybe 8 years ago or so. It started with a little patch on my back of my head, and I was like, oh, something is missing. And then it just started falling out, and so I shaved my head, and then it grew back out. I grew back out.
Even the spots that you had?
Yeah.
They grew out,
My hair grew back out, and then it started falling again, and I shaved it again, and that repeated like 4 or 5 times, and then
over what period of time?
Over maybe 8 years.
Because you've had it for 8 years, you said.
Yeah.
It started 8 years ago.
That's how it started. Yeah.
So, but you've grown it back and forth over this 8 years. You've had it grow back and fall out, grow back and fall out.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about now?
Now it's gotten really bad, so I just keep it shaved, and I just don't want to spend so much energy on and time on, I've gotten injections to as treatment, but it didn't really work, and so
is that expensive?
No, it's covered by insurance.
Okay.
I could have gone to a university hospital and continued treatment, but it just got so bad. It doesn't seem to be working. I didn't want to spend more time or energy on it, so I decided to just let it be and just shave what I have left. I mean, normally people don't ask me about it. It's just.
But do you want them to?
If they're curious, yes, yeah. the good people at Alopecia Style Japan organized a parade last year for hair loss, people with hair loss, and it was the first ever in Japan, and I attended it. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Did you have more men or women or?
I think there were more women there. Yeah. My friends came to join me, and it was really nice.
Oh, so it wasn't just people that had alopecia. Anyone that's
Supporters as
interested in
well.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm hoping this noise in the background doesn't affect you because I love doing these podcasts out here in open. Doesn't it feel good?
Yes,
To be out here, we
nice.
have we have a nice background. We have Tokyo Tower over here, and we have Japan's largest office building right behind us, and that's
Lovely.
Mori. Mori did that. It's
yes.
called Azabudai Hills.
That's the new building.
The new
right?
building,
Yeah.
yes. It's the tallest office building in Japan.
Hmm.
With the alopecia, when you have that, I would think that some people might not want to speak to you because they think you're probably going through chemotherapy.
Right, right.
Am I right?
Yeah, some people
Think you have cancer.
I have cancer. Yes. Which is not true. I'm healthy.
And I'm sure they're relieved when they find out it isn't cancer.
Yeah,
going
yeah,
through a really
yeah.
painful illness.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's painful in its
Emotionally.
own way. Right now.
Emotionally, right?
Yeah. I mean, when you're used to having long hair and you look at the mirror and you look very different, I still sometimes wake up and go, oh, okay.
Oh, so sometimes you still forget.
I mean, I don't forget, but it's a little bit like, oh yes, this is how I look.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever thought about wigs?
I have some wigs, but it's just so uncomfortable when it gets hot. When it's humid and hot, it just doesn't feel great. So I decided to wear these turbans I feel comfortable in.
Mm-hmm. Let's go into your freelance work.
Yeah.
Are you freelancing or do you work with the companies? Have a specific company you work with regularly?
I'm freelance.
Freelance,
Yeah.
okay.
I've been freelancing for 10 years.
All right. And what do you do with your freelance work? You said you're...
I'm a qualitative researcher. I mainly work with clients from overseas, like UK, Europe, and sometimes US. And if they want to do research in Japan, qualitative research in Japan,
Such as
interviews or ethnography studies, or I don't really do much focus groups, but
okay.
this
So
kind
explain, how would it go? Name something you've done. How would I employ you if I was overseas? What would I come to you for? I'd say, Madoka, I would like for you to find out more about African Americans living in Japan and how they live there, and what challenges they might be faced versus other ethnicities.
Okay.
Would I do that? Would I employ you for that?
Yes, you could. Usually I'm more into market research.
Okay.
So it would be more product or
So I'd ask you, okay,
commercially
let's
focused,
change it
but-
around. What products are available for African Americans in Japan?
Yeah, that kind
That's
of.
what I would do. I'd say,
Yeah.
let's change around a little bit. So tell me, Madoka, what products would be available for African Americans in Japan? And we need hair care products and
Right.
our skin. There's certain oils we like to use. And you'd go and do the research for me. How much time would it take?
Normally my projects are about 2 weeks to a month.
Okay.
Even the longest ones, a couple of months.
So how do I know how about to go about paying you, and how do I find out how much it would cost me?
You ask me and I
Okay.
will tell you.
Real simple. Cut and
Yes.
dry.
I have a day rate.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you tell me how it would work and everything else. So that's something
Yeah.
I could discuss with you
Yeah.
and find out.
Yeah.
That's good. Since you're a freelancer, I guess we could work that out. And then I could continue to go with that. You-
And even if it's not about a commercial question, I've done studies like how do Japanese people think of sustainability, for example. So this kind of bigger question, cultural questions, I can also answer.
So sometimes people hire you for that as well.
Yeah.
Because they might be coming over as a business,
Yeah.
and they want to find out
About culture.
right,
Yeah.
what the culture is going to demand of them and how it's going to affect their business,
Yeah.
and what costs they might have to incur.
Mhm.
Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Madoka, before I end the podcast, there's a question I love to ask everyone. And since you said you've seen some of them, you may know what that question is. If you could magically go back in time and give advice to the younger Madoka based upon what you know now, how old would she be and what advice would you give her?
I would give advice to Madoka when I was the deeply depressed Madoka.
At 19?
No, that was
Prior to
after
that.
university, so 21 or so. I'll tell her, you'll find your way. You'll find your way. You'll be able to pave your own path. It's okay. You're not a failure.
That's good. That's good. Thank you so much, Madoka.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast. And never forget, it's all unknown, so continue to reach for the stars.
Because you're too blessed to be stressed.